Good afternoon. In the name of the organizing company, TechSummit Events, I would like to welcome you in our virtual studio on the second day of the first crisis conference, Virtualtechsummit.com. Yesterday we focused on European perspective, cohesion, cooperation and the crisis management. Today we are spending the whole day discussing about healthcare, economy, innovation and human resources in context of the COVID crisis. My name is Jan Kralik and I am a consultant who spent a lot of time elaborating on public policies, reforms and their implementations, mainly in health and social care. We would like to express special thanks from the organizers to Mazar Slovakia, X-Solutions, Embassy of Israel, Liga za duševné zdravie, Advantage Austria, as well as to the technology vendor Upcoming and the other supporters which you will find on our website. I would like to welcome our guests in this panel today, all of them online. We appreciate very much your participation. Our guests are from Taiwan. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your names. I'm not used to read your language. So Mr. Ai-Ming Pang, Director. Ai-Ming Pang, okay, you will pronounce it. Director General Department of Information Management in the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Then Mrs. Go ahead. Shu Hui Wu, who is the Director of Information Management Division in Health Insurance Administration of Taiwan. Then from the European Union, Mr. Peter Droll, from the Directorate General of Research and Innovation European Commission. Welcome. Then Ms. Michal Schreiber, CEO of WebDone. Welcome. And Mr. Zaev Rusak, who is the Chief Technical Officer of Diagnostics.ai. So, dear guests, we would like to learn some lessons from you. What's the current situation? Companies are closed, people are not working, industry is shut down. The pandemic has affected all areas of the economy and the crisis is slowly showing itself. Once again, it appears that a critical situation of crisis can lead to acceleration of innovation and the development of new technologies. How can we use this energy synergistically and activate the innovation ecosystem from scientists to IT business? That's the question. So, dear guests, when we start the discussion, please introduce yourself very briefly. What is your specialty and professional focus, so we will know which way we can head the discussion later. Sorry. Sorry. So, in the first round, we would like to focus the question what will be the influence of this corona crisis on innovation. Will it be acceleration of innovation in certain areas like online working, biomedicine, health, crisis management, behavioral technology, social innovation? Does it change the demand from the society and the governments? Will it be for short-term or long-term? Will there be a new market demand for the solutions? And is there a capacity limit for innovations? And how the economy of innovation will be influenced? So, sorry. If I may ask you, let's start with our guests from Taiwan. And let's start the discussion.
Myself, I'm Ai-Ming Pang, the Director General of Information Management in the Ministry of Health and Welfare. I have about 20 years experience in national health insurance.
Oh.
Beside me, Ms. Wu, would you introduce yourself, my colleague?
Hi, everybody. My name is Shu Hui Wu. I work for the National Health Insurance Administration in Taiwan, and also I'm working for the NHI program for more than 25 years. So I'm happy to have this opportunity to join this meeting and to share our experience here in Taiwan, how we use IT technology to handle these COVID-19 things here in Taiwan. And I also have a presentation file, and I will show you later. Thank you.
So, if you could briefly introduce yourself, your professional background.
Okay, so nice to meet you all. I'm Michal from Tel Aviv. I am the CEO of WebLand, which is a digital tech company. We work with the Ministry of Health and Economics here, and with other clients which are more from other sectors. And actually, what I do for living most of the time is manage crisis online, which is like a new job, let's say, of the last 10 or 15 years, because most of the big crises, like the one we are attending now, are mostly online. So that's part of the things we do. And for now, we're working with the Israeli Health Department, Economic Department, as we say, with what I consider to be the biggest crisis ever. Even though, you know, as Israelis, we have some advantage because we know wars, and we used to work with the IDF on explaining what to do in war crisis for the population. So we know a lot about, unfortunately, about dealing with population in such crisis of life and death.
Good, perfect. Thank you for your introduction. Mr. Droll?
Thank you. I'm Peter Droll. I'm Director for Prosperity in the European Commission. We have oriented the entire research and innovation department to sustainability, the transition, focusing on people, planet, and prosperity. Quite relevant in the current context, although the setup precedes the context. My specialization is European integration. I'm in charge of a big funding program, Horizon 2020, with investments in industrial technologies. We run in that area some 400 projects, currently with an average of 15 partners per project. They have a duration of 4 years. And we have, in the current situation, adjusted or opened new funding opportunities to provide a response to the crisis. Before we talk about the next phases, which is exit and recovery.
Yeah.
Your question, Jan, was very broad, and I think there will be some areas with acceleration. Certainly, we see that as regards digital solutions. We see that also as regards response to the crisis. We have in the field of robotics some promising solutions already on the market. I'm thinking of mobile robots which disinfect rooms before staff of hospitals, for instance, can come in with ultraviolet radiation. So there's a lot of technology options, and there might be accelerations, but at this point in time, it is important to remember what happened in the 2008 crisis, that we thought we had sorted it out, and the midterm result was something completely unexpected, and that is the rising populism in many parts of Europe and the world. And I think this current crisis also has a potential of accelerating the differences and the inequalities, and might affect even the most vulnerable parts of our societies more. And This is very important for us in the way we will have to deal with the responses to the crisis and direct technologies and innovation.
Okay.
I stop here.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Usak, would you tell something about yourself very briefly?
Hello, I'm Sir Rustak, CTO of Diagnostics AI. For the past 10 years, I have been dealing exclusively with automation and standardization of molecular testing through the use of machine learning. My expertise is mainly in software, but also have a background in sensors. So this gives me a perspective into these problems. We are already integrated in several major laboratories which currently use us for the current crisis. And I see it now when laboratories have to use in their capacity where good automation, good solution, and automatic quality assurance can lead a laboratory for suitable 24-hour operation of its devices and good use of its materials.
Good, thank you. This is also a good example of how the innovation accelerates. So as far as I understand, the presentation is already prepared to be broadcasted. So I will ask the studio to put it on the screens and the speaker to start once it's there. So we are waiting for the presentation. Good, it's here. So let's start.
Oh, yes, thank you. Okay, let's start from the beginning of the outbreak. The coronavirus broke out in Wuhan, China, just before the festival of Lunar New Year. It's about later period of January. During that time, millions of people traveled among Eastern Asia area. Some travelers got to Taiwan, including not only Taiwanese who work and reside in China, Hong Kong, and Macau for back home for the holiday, but also tour passengers from China, Hong Kong, Macau, Korea, and etc. for a long vacation. Concurrently, there were cases begun to be identified to get COVID-19 infection around the world. We learned a lot from previous SARS outbreak in 2003. The experience helped us to react faster and take the danger more seriously than other parts of the world. In response to the severe coronavirus outbreak in China, as early as January 2020, the Taiwan CDC officially activated the Epidemic Command Center and quickly instituted approaches and actions such as border control from the air and the sea, proactive case finding, 14 days home quarantine, case identification and quarantine or isolation of suspicious cases. At the initial time, as you know, effort depends on artificial and paper. The beginning of February 2024, each traveler arrived at Taiwan, we were very difficult to collect the accurate contact information instantly because all health declaration and home quarantine process rely on handwriting and paper delivery. At best, delivered by email and recorded by the Microsoft. And day by day, the traveling area and the population will increasing. The original artificial process should be collapsed at any time. We decided to set up a comprehensive data flow, the picture you see, and the information system from immigration gate to living community to offer home quarantine people for health relation, civil service, and health service, and the policy review. We realized that the time and the price did not wait for us. We launched the following system in a very short time. First, EMT system for entry. The left side you see. On February 14th, the Valentine's Day, we launched this online system. Traveler with smartphone can log in the quarantine system by scanning response code while waiting for check-in or renting taxi. Travelers can complete the health declaration online while waiting for their flight or upon. The information of health declaration include the next slide. Next. Yes. Travelers complete the health declaration form online while waiting for their flight or upon entry. The information of health declaration include name, birth year, identification number, passport number, mobile phone number, health condition, and the traveling history. The notification pass for the passenger's health declaration received by us will send to the passenger's mobile phone by text message. When he arrived to the airport and went to the custom gate in Taiwan, after that, the traveler will get Western immigration clearance by showing the notification of declaration. In brief, traveler can complete the health declaration and get quick immigration clearance with 4 simple steps. Scan the quick response code, fill out the form, get notification pass of health declaration through text messages, and show the pass on mobile phone to the health officer. This requires traveler to input correct and effective contact information over mobile device, which highly improve quality and following severe and health services. And please turn to the next slide. Yes, here. Second one, epidemic prevention tracking system. Along with the quarantine system for entry, we created this system for severe and health services. We passed the event collected from entry quarantine system to different levels of severe affairs and health authorities. For village level, the officer can call by telephone or on-site visit to track health conditions for the home quarantine and coordinate their living or health necessary and demand. For example, meal supply, garbage disposal, physician visiting, etc. For city or county level, the mayor or city government can manage the total quarantine situation and plan the resources. The policy department, police department also gets the information automatically for officer assistance to severe and service officers. The Central Epidemic Command Center holds all real-time data and all standard procedures are solid active. At the same time, mobile phone can not only for case contact, but also for carrying out home quarantine. And let's see go back, go previous. Yes, here we can see the and next. Yes, here you see the No, yes. You see the electronic tracking and the electronic system. The third application is electronic facts. We collaborator with mobile home service corporation to understand the home quarantine people whether stay home or violate the rule. In case the rule is violated, the system will send a text message to notice and remind the case should go back home as soon as possible. This still does not follow the alarm, the system instantly sends an instruction to police office. Policeman will visit you. This technology is a home-based application that uses location tracking to ensure people who are stay in their designated location and alert authorities when home quarantine individuals leave their designated location or turn off their mobile devices. And the most new application I will show you is about the next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next. 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 Yes, here. Okay. Next. And yes, here. Yeah, okay. The last one.
Last page.
Yes. Go to the end. Next. Yes, here. This is the most new application in one of a robust, we call robust system. The first day, okay, very funny. In order to reduce the working load, daily tracking home quarantine tests by phone call or on-site visit, we also teamed up with electronic brand HTC Corporation and the most popular social app in Taiwan, Nine, to create a fully online platform that allows people in home quarantine to submit reports or requests for their health and living conditions and obtain technology through the bot. The bot also offers free amusement, music, and video stream service. Until this Tuesday, we got a good news for non-new case was announced by the Central Academic Command Center. Today is also no voting. We hope the academic peak is passed away. Our policy and application is effectively working. Ladies and the pandemic of COVID-19, what we have never saw before. Although we got deeper suffer from such break, the damage scale of COVID-19 thousand times than SARS. What we can learn only by doing. The four information application system I introduced almost are modified and upgraded every day. According to the strength of information technology in Taiwan, we immediately build a very effective data flow chain. Would you please go back to the second slide? Yes. Go back. Previous. Yes, here. The core trends of information technology in Taiwan, we actually build a very effective data flow chain, just like the slide show. and the application system to minimize the hazard. I'm very glad to attend this meeting and hope all of you enjoy my presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, thanks a lot for the presentation. I would have just two questions which came in my mind, and other speakers, please be encouraged to put your own questions, your question as well. My first question is, what was the acceleration effect? I mean, what wouldn't happen if there wouldn't be the COVID crisis in your system? I mean, what forced you to put all these things together, or maybe interlink the systems and so on? So what was the part which is just because of crisis?
Because of the people came from outbound, come to Taiwan. The flow from airport to their living community is very slow. Even though Taiwan is a very, not a big country, it's a small island. So we should control. We should know their location immediately and know their contact information, just like a phone number. So the original flow use paper is too slow. It's ineffective. So we need the computer system to help us to know the situation of our people in where or we can communicate with him.
You mean in the real time? You need a real-time communication. This is how I understand it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And
yes.
my second question: would this be possible to do legally regarding the personal information protection, also in a normal legislative regime, not in the crisis situation? So you don't need to change your...
Yes.
I mean, it's possible.
You also have a privacy protection law. In the process, they fill the health declaration, the notice of the privacy claims, and show in the computer or the screen, so they all know their right. So
yeah.
So if they take the health declaration, means they have understand their right of privacy.
Good. Any other questions from other speakers towards Taiwan? Or we should go ahead because we are running out of time slowly, so we should move forward faster. So thanks a lot to Taiwan. I will now to move to Israel and put the same question basically. And how happens the acceleration? I mean, what is the key driver of the acceleration in your area where you are working, which is, I think, the behavioral, influencing the behavior of people on social net or through social networks. So where comes the demand from? Is it government mainly, I think, because you are working for the government now? What is driving the fast innovation?
I think the innovation comes, first of all, from the publication. Everybody are locked down all over the world. That changed the way we work, the way we get entertainment, get the way we do anything. So the main thing is that fast forward 5 years in a month, and everything we do on virtual aspect. You know, I read 2 days ago about the Spanish flu, which happened a month ago, 1918 and 1920. And there were 20 to 15 million people died all over the world. And when you read thoroughly about it, the main change that happened in those 100 years is the communication issue. 100 years ago, there was almost no communication between the countries, between the regions. So nobody knew that this pandemic is coming, and they weren't able to get prepared. And there was no internet, there was no connection, and nobody knew anything. I think the results that we are seeing in the world now get a lot to do with the internet, because we all knew what's going on in China, less or more, and we could get prepared. For example, I was supposed to come to the convention in Bratislava about a month ago, and 2 or 3 weeks before, I told the organizer that I don't think I will go on a flight now with the corona issue, and they were a little bit surprised, and they were like, "Okay, we didn't know there's this issue." And a few days afterwards, when the pandemic started showing of things all over the world, not just in China. So I think communication is the biggest issue. That's the biggest thing that has changed since the last pandemic. Even if we speak about SARS, which we have a few years ago, still the social media, the internet, the connections got better. And I think this will be the focus of the next change and of the next innovation. Communication, virtual reality, anything to do with convention like this, from home. This is my first international convention from home. I guess this is right for everyone here. I'm used to get on an airplane and get an hotel and all this, and now it's nothing. I just put my laptop here in my living room, and that's it. So that's a huge change, I think, and that's a huge invention. I'm sure that the convention in 6 months or in 1 year will be technically much better because there will be a.
Yeah. So, as I understand, you say that the change, the forced change in the behavior of people, so staying home, not being together with other people outside, not traveling, stimulated very much the demand on other ways of communication online. So much more services are turning online. Those services which are already online try to improve the user experience and so on. So this is what I understand happened, and you are focusing on how to influence the behavior of people in the online space. And as I understood that the main difference to, let's say, to Spanish flu in the past is that the people are much more informed and they can organize themselves together with the government much better than it was before. I mean, this is very useful. I think this is very useful also for the future, where we will have start to work. I mean, have start to live as normally, but we will have to introduce some smart ways how to behave ourselves. So, and this is also, I think, the big potential of your work and those changes. So perfect. I mean, thanks a lot for giving us closer picture. And then now we should move to Peter Droll and talk about the innovation. The European Union is quite predominant in innovation, especially in Central Eastern European countries, where there are not so strong institutions developed like in Western European countries, where this is the case for years. So what will change? What will be changed in the perspective of European Union on innovation? Will there be a try to speed up the processes, to speed up the innovation, to stimulate, to make the innovation much more, much quicker, much more efficient? Or will there be some other measures from the European Union? So what's learned so far?
Yeah, thank you for this very important question. Let me just say that Michal made a very important point about communication, and that will also influence our future actions and lessons learned. And we can take a lot of lessons from Taiwan as well, with impressive track record on coronavirus. So I think two main changes we will see based on the current experience. The first is we no longer have the luxury of time.
Yeah.
That was already visible with the climate emergency, so that we can invest in research and expect that sooner or later the results will be taken up by the markets. We don't have this luxury
Yeah,
anymore.
I agree.
And that is perhaps also an element of acceleration, not specifically for one or the other technology, across the board. And I think that will have an impact on all of us. The other big consequence is that we need to study resilience of our systems. And if I think of manufacturing, and one can really be worried about the impacts of the lockdown and the pandemic on our production and the industrial base in Europe and globally, we need to think hard how we can increase the resilience of our manufacturing and industry. And there are some ways. We have additive manufacturing, 3D, which is quite well spread already. We have automatization. Could we think, and it's not science fiction, that in a not distant future, also factory workers would be teleworking, like we are teleworking now, that they would control robots in production. That is one aspect. The other aspect of that element is to make production more modular and adaptable. If you take the example of production of masks or respirators, where we used also 3D, but some car manufacturing have changed their production, that will be, in my view, a more generalized trend, that we will be having production modules which can be very quickly adjusted in order to increase resilience.
Yes, it's very understandable. I agree very much with you. And let's see what the future will bring. I have some. I would like to talk also about some other aspects, but let's finish this round with Mr. Rusak, and then I will put another question in place. And this is the role of the governments nowadays. So, please, Mr. Rusak, let's introduce your ideas.
Well, I see that every branch of the government and of the public is trying its best to work under the constraints. For example, I see many funds trying to offer from the government, trying to offer funds for developing of new ideas, calling for new ideas, with very and trying to make the process as easy as possible. But because the legal system doesn't adapt as fast, so there is still requirements for various matching funds, opening companies, and all sorts of red tape required, which means that these efforts are kind of done in vain. People are coming up with ideas, are applying for new grants, but until they manage to finish all the red tape involved in it, this whole process will be behind us and we'll be ready for the next wave maybe. Also, I don't really see strong preparation for the next wave. So while I do accept that people don't like to make changes during an epidemic, it is very likely that there will be aftershocks to this event. So it would be a good idea to see grant grants opening up for dealing with the next wave of problems that all the regulatory part take time as usual. So will be good time for these things.
Okay, so as announced, and I'm coming from the experience of my own country. So in different countries, the situation might be quite different. Government's decisions making process and procurement, especially procurement, or awarding grant schemes or awarding grants. Might have positive or negative influence on the innovation. We have experienced rather government being rather innovation killer in this area because it's very much, the whole process is very much influenced by various lobbyists and so on. So the smaller companies or mid-sized companies who don't have that lobby power are quite often not so successful. But this is just experience from one time period of in our country. And my question would be that how the general behavior of the government can foster or kill the innovative environment. What is your experience and your opinion, maybe from a perspective of your own country and the European Union. So let's start with our colleagues in Taiwan. Hopefully this is not too political question for you.
In my country, our government are very encouraging innovation of technology. So we have many methods to encourage the scholar or even small business to innovate. And this time we also use the open data. Even we offer the patient's X-ray film for AI training. So the data open mind in our major policy.
Okay, more or less might be a matter of culture which is developed in particular countries. So what about the Israel experience from Michal's perspective?
Well, Israel is always a startup nation, so this can be an opportunity for startups here, on one side. The other side, like every government, this is a huge issue and it's not easy to manage. I think that all over the world, when governments open the management of the crisis to the public and ask for their help and take the option to get some ideas from the public or from different companies, then first of all, this automatically will bring interesting solutions, out of the box solutions, and this will probably give much more space to innovation. This comes to the other subject, which is the option to get more information from other countries, and the option to get the information from other countries, with other countries, and so on. We have one option which is work locally, and another option internationally. I feel like this is the science fiction movie of the world fight aliens. And now that is where the world will unite with is knowledge and data, so on, and innovation, or will it work separately? And each country will take care of its own.
Yeah.
So I think that the best way to get innovation is to work globally.
Yes, I agree, especially with that aspect that the international cooperation minimizes the bias which is locally present. So this is like in the science. I mean, the scientific teams cooperate mainly because of, getting rid of the biased perspective and misleading the research. So yes, I mean, international cooperation might be very, very helpful in this. Good, perfect. And let's move to Brussels or to European Union. I don't know where you are located. So sorry.
Yeah, I'm located in Brussels.
Currently in Brussels. Perfect.
I think you raised a very important question, and governments can indeed hinder or stifle or animate innovation. The most important question is about competition policy, to open an equal level playing field in our internal market, in the EU, but also globally. That is one very important role governments have. Second is the rule of law. We know from many research results that there is a direct correlation between the innovativeness, the growth, the jobs in a country on the one hand, and on the other hand, the rule of law. So the better your institutions, the better also your prosperity. And then is a question of funding. And for funding, we have now oriented our programming towards directionality. So giving the bigger directions, which we call missions, without going too much into detail, and allowing within this direction different sorts of funding to come in, private funding, venture capital, and grant funding from governments. And that, I think, is a good way of steering resources, not only financial, but also intellectual, personal resources into innovation.
The capacity, basically. Good. Perfect. So thank for this round, and we have some time spared. So I will have a very utilitarian question now in this round, and this is about our country. And for our country, this might be opportunity to dramatically change the way how the government is dealing with innovation support. I don't know whether we will use it or not. I mean, it's not on us, it's on the people who has the power to change it. And we will, of course, try to communicate it to them as well. And partially, I think they are aware of this opportunity, and we can miss it very easily. We are a country with 5 million inhabitants. We are somewhere in the middle of Europe, former communist country. It's 30 years ago already, more than 30 years ago already, and we are not one of the richest country, in opposite. But we are part of European Union. We benefit very, very much from all the benefits, all the aspects of European Union, and now we are on a crossroads. I mean, we would have to make a kind of dramatical change if our politicians would like. So what you would recommend for such country as us to do if there is, once or twice in the life there is the change to change your life, and now maybe there is the change to change our life because the crisis, because the government changed, because maybe younger people are much more involved and so on, and people maybe behave differently, and maybe it will remain in the future as well, that the positive changes in behavior will prevail. So what would you recommend to us? I mean, what to do, talking generally about how to very quickly start to foster innovation much better than before. So let's start again with Taiwan. It's quite a provocative question, and I know you are not prepared to answering this, but I'm just curious what's first on top of your mind.
I think from this crisis that mean, everybody should share information, no matter what kind of government information you own. Once you want to form an effective information chain, you have to somehow to cooperate with other government institutions or private sectors to share the information. And also our mask. We have an email system. Maybe later I can show my presentation file that we have two, I think from my point of view, we have two very important systems to help our government to handle this COVID-19 outbreak situation. The first one is our centralized medical health system, and the other one is our mass rationing system to help the government to distribute very fairly and efficiently. And everybody who needs masks, they can get one. But by analysis, we can know that maybe at what year age and what kind of job they need more, and we can supply more. And owing to the production volume, we can somehow to distribute all these epidemic materials to the right place and the right person. So I think it is a crisis, but also it is a chance to let every agency, no matter private sector or public sector, we can work together and come up some valuable information to the general public. Let them know that where to buy masks, where to buy some kind of services, and what is the situation right now. So this is.
Yes, very interesting. So as far as I understand, you would suggest to tear down the barrier between the government and the citizen and share the information more flexibly from both sides towards common goal. I mean, this might be the opportunity, because as far as I understand, and this situation here is very similar as well, that the government is quite isolated from the people, and vice versa, and this could also build maybe a bit more trust between the government and the elites and the people and the common people. So I understand. Perfect. Thank you very much for your opinion. Let's move again to Israel. So, what do you recommend to the country which is little smaller than yours? But there is huge difference in innovation, for example, in other areas as well, of course.
Well, the first thing is, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's your turn. So, Miss Schreiber, it's your turn. So, go ahead.
Two Israelis, you know. I wanted to agree with a lot of my colleagues in Taiwan. I think that putting a specific issue or a specific problem is the way to make the innovation work. Because sometimes when you are saying, okay, let's do more innovation in general, then nothing happens. But when you are setting a problem, a specific problem, and then you're saying we are looking for a solution for this specific problem, then normally something happens. And then you can get forward with the situation. Their information through social media and so on works great with those issues, because you can ask people to get their solution. You can, for a small amount of money, you can get a lot of innovation and a lot of solution, because the briefing is very specific, because you are explaining the problem very clearly, and people can show their abilities in a specific issue. I think the problem is when governments want to have an innovation in general, and when they don't have something specific, so they don't know what the innovation is going to come from which side. And there's also right for life. on this a specific problem and then fix it, and then go to the next problem.
Yeah. And sometimes it seems that the government doesn't understand how the people are living in reality. So we have experience from some measures which were not thought through as it should be, because the devil is in the details always. So it's very easy to introduce a very simple restrictive rule, but the unwanted, unexpected consequences then are destroying the trust of the people to the governments, let's say. This is one of the negative influences. Good. So from the European Union, the voice from the European Union, what would you recommend to our country?
Thank you.
Or country
Thank
like
you.
this?
And then I'm also interested to hear the Rusak's opinion also from Israel. So first of all, I'm a bit biased. I was part of the accession negotiation process, and I'm a big fan of Slovakia.
Thank you.
So, and I don't have any advice to give. What I would say applies to all countries, and it will not come as a surprise. What this crisis shows is that we need to be very strong on research and innovation, and that comes with a price. And we need to review our investments, public and private, into research and innovation. That is the lesson number one in my view, and applies across the board. The second point very much resonates with the comments from our friends in Taiwan, and it's social innovation. And Jan, you mentioned it at the beginning. We need to capture better the ingenuity of societal players. We have some very good, and the best example of social innovation is still the microcredits from Mohammed Yunus. And this is a moment where we could capture better the creativity of social innovators. Our experience with that in Europe is that they have wonderful ideas. The problem is with scale up. So they remain very localized, fragmented. And if we could tap into that potential better, that would be a good answer, part of the answer for recovery after Corona.
Yes, I agree with this. I experienced this very much in health care or health solutions, where some countries are very advanced, let's say on the local level, but the translation of those experience, of this accumulated experience, which is a huge one already in Europe, not only in Europe, in Israel as well. But I don't see, for example, any knowledge transfer, any transfer of that experience to countries which could use it. Everybody is trying to invent the wheel. And for example, I'm focusing very much on integrated care, and this is very much the case in integrated care. So we are starting with integrated care. There is no workforce who would understand integrated care, but there are countries where integrated care was introduced since 10 years already, or 15 or 20 years. And there might be a lot of solutions which might be useful for us, but the process of transferring that knowledge to work in this country, which is basically for free. I mean, this is, you don't need to invest to develop the solutions and technologies. It's for free, and it doesn't work. So this is something maybe which could be improved as well. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. Please, Mr. Rusak, have a last word in this round.
Yes. So, like many of you said, mainly Peter et al., innovation should exist generally, because during a crisis it won't come up to existence. So a good, transparent system with good funding that encourages innovation. And transparency is essential. So, like you, Jan, said, otherwise lobbyists will take the whole cake. Essential. We would not have existed without the Office of the Chief Scientist in Israel, now called the Innovation Authority. And when we started, we were just 2 people, and still we got repeating grants from the government, which were able to match and make this whole innovation. On the other side, like you said, Ian, everyone wants to reinvent the wheel, especially during a crisis. We know what to do, you do not tell us. So I see in our country where there are many private companies like us who are successful outside of Israel doing the same thing. If it's us, if it is my heritage with their testings, the country uses armed researchers to remake the technology from scratch because we know how to do it. Don't interfere with the professionals. So I see a tag between these 2 forces. It seems that during a crisis, while the system of innovation was set up, from my experience, the government tries to use its own resources as much as it can, or very large organizations they used to work with already.
Yeah.
But maybe it is a syndrome of nobody is a prophet in its own hometown.
Perfect. So thanks a lot. We have 1.5 minutes left, so we used our time very, very efficiently. It was a very smart discussion. I liked it very much, and I hope we will have the chance to continue, maybe in other setup. Is there anything you would like to express at the end of this discussion? Okay, Mr. Droll.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you all. I learned a lot. A very interesting discussion. It's great that you picked this topic so quickly. I just wanted to say a word about Europe. What we experience right now is a moment where the nation states are in the front line, and rightly so, as regards healthcare, as regards emergencies. And Europe is often seen as not being present enough. But I would plea here that we have a close look at what Europe has really done in the crisis. We have reacted quite quickly and put together a 500 billion program to support companies, workers, and states. And in my own field, I know that we have within a week, we have completely changed the state aid rules to allow the crisis. So Europe can come out with more solidarity, with more focus on the common good, which was so present in our discussion here, than previously.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We believe as well here that Europe is an important concept which we cannot survive without, and we believe, I mean, part of us believe that Europe is doing a lot, but it's not so visible. Maybe it's not so presented, but it's very important for countries, for example, like us. And by Europe, we don't mean just the European Union, but for example, our colleagues from Israel are in fact part of the Europe, also from historical sense, very much connected culturally and so on. So, our friends in Taiwan are not located in Europe, but the mindset of them, the democracy and the freedom is a concept which is very much very European. In fact, so we feel really as a one big family, connected by ideas, not by the geography. So thanks a lot for your participation. It was a great pleasure for me to have you here. And again, I hope we will have the chance to meet in the future as well. So have a nice day and win the fight with the coronavirus.
Be healthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.